And so yeah, the Scar Grounds here makes this very difficult. Okay, I don't actually know how this matchup is supposed to go. So for today's video, we are revisiting Lissandra and Trundle, but we're going to be piloting the Ionia version, and it is not something that I have piloted against the what is likely the Scar Grounds archetype very often, so we'll have to wait and see how this goes, because I don't know if my ravines and avalanches and ice shards are at all good here. I think I'm actually pretty convinced that they are garbage here. Oh, which is a little problematic. All right, we'll go ahead and develop our Lissandra just so we can get at least one frozen thrall ticking down. And so yeah, the Scar Grounds here makes this very difficult. Very difficult. Now the good news is we've got a thrall ticking down. Okay, sure. We've got our retreat return. Man, I don't actually know what I want to do here. Such a weird position to be in.
This is the heart of the Freljord.
Yeah, Braum is problematic as well. This is a really tough matchup. I kind of wish that we would have kept Trundle so I could slam Trundle down right now, and then I'd feel much more confident about this matchup. But this is a bit problematic, to say the least.
The ice is melting.
All right, I assume Trundle's, or excuse me, Braum. I got Trundle in the brain now because I'm thinking about how I need him to survive this, but I assume Braum blocks because they want to do the Scar Grounds thing. We try to Avalanche, and then we'll try to Ravine. They've got 4 mana available though, so they're gonna have some sort of buffs. This is the best we got. Like, this is, I think, a really bad matchup for us. So we are going to navigate this to the best of our ability. Braum is still gonna survive, but we maybe clear out the other two, maybe. That's fine. He was already going to survive because of regen, so that was fine. So now we need to develop something this turn so Homecoming turns on, and also just so that we have like a blocker. Though I expect Braum here to eat our Lissandra. You know, I'm an Inquisitor to get this going next round. Vladimir is already gonna be up there. All of this is bad. I mean, that's the only way to look at it, right? This is just all delicious, inherently bad.
Good luck. Have fun. Let it flow. Let's talk about your tag.
So I think the play here is we do this, develop this Tavern Keeper post-combat, but we might be in a world of hurt because we don't have like a ruination style effect. We are much more combo based with this list, and we haven't actually found ours.
Nothing escapes my watch.
So I mean, this is fine. This is a chump blocker for Vlad, though Vlad's still gonna be doing a bunch of draining, but not much we can do about that. I think this is it. And when I say I think this is it, I mean this is the proverbial it. Maybe she bails us out. Pretty big maybe though.
Ready the torches.
So we do this to bounce Braum, because that lets us get our guy back, hopefully for healing.
This'll take the chill off.
All right.
How can Brom help?
Might not be able to use the retreat return for our actual combo. Like, there's a strong chance we might need to be using it on our Mina here in future turns, but Ice Shard is exactly as much help as you think it is. It's great at buffing the entire enemy board. So like we can do this, but then they can at least redevelop some of them. Like they'll play Braum and Vladimir again in all likelihood, but I think this is still a play you have to make.
Feet were made for roaming and kicking. Yeah.
I think it's still a play that you have to make.
I've dressed for the occasion.
Oh, please.
So we make this trade. There's the Braum. So again, quite literally everything that we thought it was going to be. More Lissandras. You're getting the wrong half of the deck. I'm not gonna lie, gang. This is a very Trundle-centric deck, and I had great success with this list like a week ago, and in the last, I'd say like 2 days, I have just not been able to find Trundle at all. Like it's actually frustrating how little I've been able to find Trundle.
You'll want to give me some space. Promise.
So we're gonna do our best here. We're not giving up.
Warning, freedom.
We're gonna just rely on Swiftfoot
Succumb.
to help us out here. Lissandra levels. This will give us free ice shards that are again not helpful in this matchup whatsoever. Like this couldn't be a more slap in the face matchup if it wanted to. But we're gonna get this, so if we can find a bounce effect again, we are dangerously close to being able to trigger this actually. But I think for now,
Focus earthward, aim skyward.
because we have a backup Lissandra, I think we just ship it. We might actually use Lissandra's Entune on like our 8/8, because if that then comes back, like we would just win at that point. Because she's already done her job for the most part here. I think we could let this go. do the entomb, and then we get this back by the time it comes back to our turn, and that's all we need to win. So I think we just let this happen. The problem is this is no longer an entomb. It becomes Lissandra again, so we can't. We would have had to have done it that combat. So I think instead we just keep playing this pressure game. Again, the ravines just help them. I mean, we could Ice Shard to get him to 4. We play this. Another one next turn is 3-2. Like, I guess we could theoretically do it that way. If we really wanted to just try to burn them to death with Ice Shards. We can Ice Shard and Ravine, and then next turn Ice Shard, Ice Shard. I think that's actually our path to victory. I think you just let this go. Understanding that this thing's going to be massive. You play the Ravine. Because this again hits everything. And then you let this go. We get our free Ice Shard. But they go down to 2. Oh, we got a homecoming as potential insurance. I said potential because I didn't know if they would go for the open attack, but I think do we get there on the Ice Shards? Oh, it's so satisfying. I have no business winning this game, but this is game 1. Let's go play another game, and then I'll walk you through the list, talk about the combo. Wow, I can't believe we got this victory, but we will take it. Renekton and Darius is our new matchup, and this actually could be this could be a bit of a struggle as well. I think these two are fine because this is a more traditional, what I like to call vertical aggro instead of going wide. Our avalanches and Ice Shards and things are less likely to be effective. Now obviously they're running Saboteur, they're probably running things like I was about to say Spider, and you know what, I think we popped this before this can declare itself as an attacker. Dune Keeper, things like that. I think you just go ahead and do this. We'll get our Lissandra developed, but yeah, I think this has the potential to give us some fits. We'll wait and see. We don't have the kind of like frostbite effects that you would like. I don't know, maybe I should have attacked there. I was going back and forth on it, but
Explosives primed.
could pass to try to bait the avalanche, but I think developing this, and then if they go with like a ballista here, then the archer ends up being a really good play. Right now I'm just oh, interesting.
Look out for reavers.
So we could do this because we have the backup Lissandra. I'm fine with putting this one kind of in harm's way. We can wait till it's leveled and then pop that one if we really need to. Really weird that they, with basically 6 mana available, decided to attack here. That kind of tells me that they might have a bunch of combat tricks, but I'm not seeing any pop out. Maybe it's the top end of their curve then. This is kind of a nice pickup. This should, oh, card draw. Fair enough. Might explain a bit. But this is great because this is an engine for us. The question is it an engine that we need developed right now? I think the answer is no. I think you just go with Trundle here. Argument to be made about maybe you take the open attack just to get some damage in, but
Stand in trouble far as the eye can see.
I think I'd prefer to get Trundle developed. Ruin runners are fantastic for them. Obviously not so much for me. We'll go ahead and do this because I like frostbiting that through the spell shield because I'm not a nice person. And then here we can basically wait because we have the palm if they try to do anything too crazy with the Renekton, like if they have an exhaust or a predator, for example.
No mercy.
I mean, if they just swing, we'll block with Trundle and wait till they use whatever combat trick it is they have. It's possible that they also are planning on still exhausting something and they're trying to figure out, yeah, which one.
We'll find our parade.
Which one is the juicier target? Yeah, let's go with the palm because I want to develop monastery and I want to be able to start bouncing the palm and get that value. So the other option here is you could use homecoming and get the archer back as well, but you can also use the monastery to start popping this. Like, the reality is there's just a bunch of really good options that we have available. Kind of tempting to send Trundle to deal with the Ruin Runner, but I think we just pass here. Our biggest issue right now is just the open attack.
I have my orders.
At some point we have to deal with this Ruin Runner, so it might just be with Trundle. So we could do this. Play our pillar, but that's not really super helpful. I think she's gonna end up being used as block fodder this time as well. I guess in the interim we'll do that because we can always use our homecoming here for a good quality soak. As we continue to just try to stall out. I mean, next round we're probably going to be using pillar and then we'll use the monastery to re-pillar so that we get her to a leveled up state. And then you just kind of run that combo until you get a Watcher. And Watcher is probably safe in this matchup to just play and not have to worry about the retreat return combo. All right, so this is gonna go here and this is gonna go here, and we've got only 8 mana to work with and we really wish that we had 9. So I think in this instance You still do this. Both of these represent 6 damage. But right now, without a combat trick, Darius doesn't level till he hits us. And that's the important part. Like, we obviously don't want him to level.
Come on!
But I think that this is the way that we want to go. Now with 3 mana, they could have a combat trick to kill our Trundle and sneak in some damage. But that's still not going to be enough to level Darius until he hits us. And that's, again, the important piece here. And they're contemplating it. They're thinking about something here. I feel like it's probably another Ruthless and they just want the +2/+0 and they're going back and forth because then that means they don't have it for when Renekton comes back. Oh, okay, well. It was a fervor, but we have the Nopify for that, so. I understand now why they were taking the shot there. Because that was potentially catastrophic for us. But we get to do fun pillar things now, right? So we play a pillar. Levels our Trundle.
Kingdom now.
They replay their Renekton. We're gonna go ahead and do this because we would like to level our Lissandra. Also tags the Ruin Runner.
Succumb.
Now, Trundle could run over Darius, but getting rid of this thing, I think, is our number one priority because we have ways to deal with Darius. Like, if they go with the open attack, like I suspect they will, we can always use Lissandra's Tomb on him. That's not exactly the end of the world, and if they don't go with the open attack, then we have a bajillion tools here. But I think we want to do this because I think we just want to chew through the thing with the spell shield because we're not going to be able to keep ice archering it forever. Again, open attack becomes a problem at that point, and we just have better ways to deal with the Darius. All right, so they're going to draw some cards, which means I think couple of different options available here. We actually could Avalanche and then Ravine because that also deals with Renekton, and then that basically guarantees that we have a way to deal with Darius as well if they go with the open attack, and if they don't, then we have the Archer nonsense. Now we lose our tail and this goes down to 1, but I think that's fine. I think the Avalanche plus Ravine is just really important because of the health gain here as well.
Embrace the calm.
Entreat has the potential to be a solid pickup because that's most likely to be a Trundle.
Nox
So that's, yeah, I was gonna say that's gonna pull that. That's basically a guarantee. Now this is gonna pop, which means she'll just need one more trigger.
My life forever, Rosa.
And so this would get us down to 7 if we wanted to let it go off. I think first things first, let's see if this actually finds us a Trundle. It did not. So that makes this an even easier decision. Makes it an even easier decision. Because if it was going to be a Trundle, then we might just not try to save this pillar. But right now, if we can actually save the pillar, then we can bounce it back to our hand after combat so that it's nice and safe. And then next round, this pops, we play the pillar, and then we can go for the Watcher attack. And if we top deck the retreat return, then they can't even stop it. But I don't think, again, in this matchup, we have to play around that too hard. All right, so the Entomb goes off. Lissandra goes back. And as I said, we're just gonna go ahead and save this now. It's a nice important save. We could Ice Shard, but we actually lose our own archer here. That doesn't feel very good for the 1 damage on the Nexus.
You will do as I command.
And so here comes the pillar. I hope they don't concede before we get the animation, but it's entirely possible that they do. When it comes down, there's a lot of folks that
Our arrangement is complete.
just hit the old surrender button. Oh, they have the decisive maneuver. That's adorable. That is actually adorable. All right, let's play it again. Concede now. There it is. All right. So let's go take a look at the list. I'll talk about the inclusions. This is a lot of fun. Today's list was Lissandra and Trundle, but the Ionia version, and mine is mostly the same as the others that you'll see on the ladder. I do run one spicy inclusion, and I'll talk about that when we get there, but for the most part, it's pretty standard. I'm running one sentry just to dig a little bit deeper. I know some lists run more than one, some don't run it at all. Currently for me, it's a one of just to kind of help with the early game. 2 entreats because finding Trundle is very important. Trundle and bouncing the pillar is the easiest way to make sure that you get Watcher up and running. And you want to do that so you can use the retreat return portion of this deck for your combo. Iceveil Archer is also great for early game and for stall, and again, it's another one of those units that you can return to your hand and get extra value from. The play effect is a really big deal. 2 Nopify, 2 retreats. Again, we're running cards like Archer, we're running cards like Tavern Keeper, so you know, there's value here, but the real reason that you run this is for return. So the concept is that once you get your Watcher in hand, if you play retreat on anything, then return allows you to put the Watcher directly into play at burst speed, and then you can declare your attackers. On attack, you obliterate the opponent's deck, and even if they have an answer for the actual body, it doesn't matter. You're probably going to win the game. So this is why you would consider running the Ionia version, because you're denying your opponent any opportunity to try to stop the combo if you can pull this part off. So really important to note, 3 ice shards because aggro is still pretty popular on the ladder, and this helps to deal with it. As the meta evolves, if it starts to slow down, I think that the ice shards could potentially come out for more things like sentries, for example, because again, they help you to dig deeper, or some other of the unique tools to this deck. Tavern Keeper helps against aggro, great play effect, allows you to again make use of the things that return units to your hand, get extra value. Lissandra, part 1 of the reason you play this deck. You're trying to level up Lissandra and play the Watcher. Where'd he go? This scary guy. You want to play him for free, burst speed, so that's why we run Lissandra. All right, Monastery. This card is polarizing because it's really good in this deck. But getting multiple copies of Monastery sucks. But you also kind of want to draw it. And so I go back and forth on whether or not this is supposed to be a 1 of or a 2 of. I'm currently running it as a 1 of. But if you wanted to take this to 2, I would understand, because it really does do some crazy things with this deck. Whether that is, again, bouncing your Ice Pillar for easy leveling up of Lissandra, whether it's returning Tavern Keeper so that you continue to get heals, or Archer, or later on in the list, we haven't yet come to it, but Concussive Palm. Monastery generates you a lot of value in a pretty fantastic way. So currently a 1 of, but I go back and forth on making that a 2. All right, next up, Avalanche. Ravine, 3 and 3, because aggro is the thing in this deck, very late game focused, so you need to survive until you get there. Concussive Palm, it's a body that helps you block, it's a combat trick, and then again with Monastery, or again even with things like, retreat, return, because you don't have to save this for the combo. It can be entirely fine to use this just to stay alive or do other things. So if you're using this, getting this back so you've got a nice stun, that's also a pretty big deal. 2 Deny to pair with the 2 Nopify. 2 Homecoming. Homecoming is here because we don't really have traditional hard removal. I mean, we have the stun, but we don't have Vengeance, we don't have Ruination, we just don't have those things. So Homecoming allows you to, 1, put things back in your hand. So again, going back to Palm, going back to Tavern Keeper, the Archer, right? This helps you get additional value from those units. It also helps you to free up unwanted Frozen Thralls in the late game to give you some board space as well. So you can do those things, but then also recall an enemy, whether that is in big unit or something you need to reset the count on, like a Fiora. Again, we don't have hard removal, so this card does its job very well in this list. 2 Inquisitors. We're not running Frozen Thralls up front, and you don't really want to play these until a little bit later in the game anyway, when Lissandra's already ticked down. So running these as like another version of Trundle to just play a 4/5 blocker on 5 is fine. The Thrall that you get from the Inquisitors will almost never pop out, so it's a fine target to bounce back to your hand with Homecoming. But again, this is really just about, if Lissandra comes down on curve, maybe you drop this a little bit later, you get yourself an 8/8 and you get up and moving. Trundle, other half of like the combo in this deck. Ice Pillar is again fantastic, so you want it. Getting 1 Trundle in play is also really helpful because it gives you access to Icequake. Not that we don't have other board sweepers, but Icequake is nice with the 3 damage. But again, this is really all about Pillar and how many ways we can play Pillar so that we can level up our Lissandra. And then on the top end, 1 Mina Swiftfoot. This is pretty standard in this list because again, with Monastery, she's nutty. She's something that costs 8 or more, so she helps out with your Lissandra. With Homecoming, you can get extra value, so definitely running her. But I run 1 copy of Dawn and Dusk, and I run this as a secondary finisher. So this helps you, for example, in those games where you do get an on-curve Lissandra and Inquisitor pops an 8/8, sometimes this can just steal you a win because people aren't expecting it. Or if for whatever reason you have, you've played your Pillar, maybe you've got Monastery out, like it's a stretch, but if you've got your full 3 spell mana and you've got Monastery and you've played Trundle, when you're rolling into 8, Dawn and Dusk allows you on turn 8 to burst in the Watcher. So you can play your pillar. That's your first 8 count. Your monastery recalls it for 1. You replay it again. That's your second 8 count. And then you've got mana left over. You can Dawn and Dusk at that point to copy the pillars. So that then gets you up to 4 because now you've played 4 pillars. And then you use the rest for retreat, return your Watcher into play. So it's very niche. And obviously it doesn't have to be done right on 8, but it's super satisfying when it happens. And as I said before, it's really also here just because it gives you that secondary win condition where, you know, if you've got an 8-8, you can run somebody over. You can just kind of steal some victories. It's also same thing with Trundle, right? Once you've leveled up Trundle, sometimes using Dawn and Dusk on a Trundle is another great way to finish a game. So I run this as a 1 of. I know a lot of lists don't, but it's fine. So anyway, this is it for this video. As always, deck code will be in the video description along with a link to Mobalytics. Thanks for watching. Next couple of days I'll do, I think I got a deep list that I saw on Twitter I really liked, so I'm gonna play some games on that. And I'll probably do at least one video on the concurrent timelines Ledros combo because I haven't done it yet, and I wasn't even going to acknowledge it because I expect it to be nerfed. But the more I thought about it, I want to do at least one video before it gets addressed. So we might do that. That might round out the weekend. And then next week, I think we're going to do Croc Week. I'll give you a little sneak peek here, but I haven't done any Renekton videos on the channel yet, and I love the champ, so I've already lined them up. We're going to do, I think, a different Renekton video Monday through Friday next week for Croc Week. So anyway, I'm done officially now, I promise, for this video anyway. So again, thank you for watching. As always, until next time, may you walk on warm sands.